Good evening. Happy Wednesday evening to you, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the Death Cafe. I'm always thrilled to join a Death Cafe and give everybody an opportunity to share what's on their mind, their thoughts, and their hearts. So before we begin, may I invite you to grab yourself a nice cuppa and find a cozy place to sit down. And we will begin in just a moment. And when you come on, please tell me where you are in the world. I'm here from Northern California in a beautiful mountain area in a small town called Nevada City, and it's at the foothills of the California Sierras, about an hour from Lake Tahoe, if you're familiar with that. And it's very beautiful. As the Death Cafe starts, we're going to start to get some rain, which we all need. So I'm excited about that. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Dearhart, and I have the privilege of founding a nonprofit 501c organization called the Death Cafe, called the Heart Way. This is the Death Cafe. And the Heart Way serves those before, during, and after death. And we provide counseling and education and advocacy and ministry to those during the process at end of life and their families and the grief that follows. So I'm just thrilled to be here. And I've done this work for 35 years, and I've run death cafes for almost 10 years. So it's a thrill. Not one death cafe is the same. Oh, I see you all popping in. Hi, Heidi. Nice to have you here. Heidi is one of our end-of-life practitioner interns, and I'm thrilled to have you here this evening, and I'm sure you're going to come up with some good questions or inquiry today, and love having you here. Hi, Susan, and you're in Reno. You moved here a few months ago from Illinois, so it may be a little warmer from there, and welcome, Susan. I'm glad you're here tonight. Hi, Devana from Seal Beach. Oh, lovely, Southern California. I have another office in Southern California and down there every couple months or so. So I'm glad you're all here tonight. How about as people start to join, we do just spend a minute just grounding. I don't know what your day was like. I have to tell you, mine was crazy and so busy. And I'm looking forward to taking a breath with you, to be very, very honest. So if it feels right to you, go ahead and allow your eyelids to gently close and make a connection and find your breath. Be aware of the sensations of your breath, the feeling of your breath, the touch of your breath, the warmth of your breath. And just allow your breath to take you deeper within. If it feels good to take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh, please do so. Feels good for me. Allowing your breath to take you deeper within. Take a moment to scan your body and let go of any areas of holding, control, tension, or pain. And go deeper within. Deeper and deeper into relaxation, deeper and deeper into surrender, letting go. Beautiful. May you stay open to the roots of the unexamined assumptions and beliefs, remaining open to all possibilities there is in this world, in this life, in your breath. May you and all beings be free from harm. May you and all beings' mind, body, and spirit be connected with divine wisdom. And may you and all beings know you are loved and you are love. Shared with love from my heart to your heart. And when it feels right, go ahead and allow your eyes to gently open. Beautiful. Hi, Lorraine from Seal Beach. You're the second person from Seal Beach. Welcome. Lovely to have you all on here tonight. How many of you is the first time at a Death Cafe? I think the Deaf Cafe has filled a real need in our culture, and I'm just thrilled to be here. The Deaf Cafe really is for you, and I'm just here to support and facilitate it. But let me tell you a little bit more about the Death Cafe. The phrase Death Cafe identifies both a movement and an individual gathering that occur as part of this movement, like we are tonight. It's a movement that started in Switzerland, where a gentleman by the name of Bernard Krietz held his first Café Mortal in 2004. Later, a British web designer, John Underwood, started a Death Cafe gathering in his home in London in September in 2011. As of today, there's over 13,500 Death Cafes in over 81 countries. So that's huge. I've had the honor of leading cafes myself since about 2014. Death cafes are always offered as a nonprofit basis. And the goal, and I hope I achieve this tonight for you, is to create an accessible, respectful, and confidential space. There's no intention of leading for any conclusion, any products, any course of action. And if we were together, I'd serve you chocolate and tea. So create this warm, cozy atmosphere wherever you are. The overall objective of the Death Cafe gathering is to create an increased awareness of death with a view of holding people to help them make the most out of their infinite life, discarding the external roles and petty concerns that we have in life. When death is part of our life from the perspective of understanding that that is all a place we will walk, new meaning comes in life. Life is poignant. I bet you can think of a situation where you may have lost somebody in your life and how that changed you, how that changed your perspective, how you felt the world, how you saw the world. People choose to become part of the Death Cafe for so many different reasons, but it's worth noting that the cafe has really filled the felt need. It's not really a grief support group or a lecture or an educational session or promoting anything, but however, we always learn something. We always feel supported and we always connect. And the lovely thing about doing the Death Cafe live or YouTube live is people from all over the world can chime in, and some people see the Death Cafe videos afterwards from all over the world. I know you know this. We can't magically make death disappear from our lives, nor can we completely erase the sadness and other forms of distress associated with death-related issues. But we can talk about it. We can share our insights and attitudes and learn from each other and strive together to cope more effectively with dying, death, and bereavement, and therefore life. I hope that's helpful. Excuse me, that's a brief introduction to what a Death Cafe is. Now it's your turn. So the Death Cafe is for you, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of people sign in, so I'm just thrilled. And we have some Death Cafes in. As I said with you before, I'm the founder of the Heart Way, supporting people at the end of life. And I'm personally an end of life practitioner and a death doula and a psychologist. And it absolutely still is one of the greatest honors in my life. The next is the love of being with my family. They're all connected. So I asked you, what brought you to the cafe tonight? What's on your mind? What would be helpful this evening to talk about or process or share? And what brought you here tonight? I know there's a lot of things you could do than be at a death cafe. So I appreciate you're here, and I'd love to hear what brought you here. Let me check in with a thread to see who's here. I know, Heidi, this is your first time at a death cafe. So I'm thrilled that you're here and want to know what's on your mind and questions. Hi, Jim from Oregon. I hope you're doing well and nice to have you here. And Susan, you're a end-of-life doula and a hospice volunteer. Beautiful. So maybe you can take a moment to share with me what's on your mind, anything personally or professionally that's flowing through you, which reminded me, in 2022, I'm going to start a death doula cafe. I think that would be a beautiful opportunity to bring the doulas together to be able to have a conversation. So, oh, thank you, Susan. So you're here to connect with like-minded people. I think you will find us here. And you're interested in what the Heart Way, interested in the Heart Way and what you offer. Can you be a little bit more specific in what we offer? We have lots and lots of programs, and I invite you to go on the website, theheartway.org, to check it out. But if you have some specific questions, let me know, and I'd be really happy to answer them for you. In the meantime, please feel free to share anything on your mind. And as you're processing questions and sharing them on the link, I wanted to share a poem tonight, if I might, because it struck me. One of the things on my mind as I entered the Death Cafe tonight is this time of year and how it affects our relationship to death and our relationship to those that have died. There's something unique about this sacred time of year, the holiday season, that distills a different relationship and a different connection with death. And this poem really brought to the forefront what might be moving through some of us. So if I might read this to you, wherever you are, if you're called to close your eyes, sometimes we take in words and information much differently. I often hear more with my heart and less distracted with the outside senses. My senses go within. To the angry, I was cheated, but to the happy, I am at peace. And to the faithful, I have never left. I cannot speak, but I can listen. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So as you stand upon the shore, gazing at the beautiful sea, remember me. As you look in awe at a mighty forest and its grand majesty, remember me. Remember me in your hearts, in your thoughts, in the memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the battle we fought, and the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will never have gone. That's by Anon. I think that's so beautiful and so true. What are your thoughts about that? And I think about this time being without our loved ones, our family members, our friends, those that may have died this past year or within these past months. I wonder how you bring your loved ones that have died into your hearts during this season. Do you have any special rituals? And how is it different, or is it different for you at these times? It is certainly for me. It is certainly for me. What are your thoughts? Happy to share something that moves through me. Thank you, Devana. I also thought it was a beautiful poem. It was, besides the beauty and the elegance of its writing, it really struck a heartstring with me. It dealt with some of the emotions that we all feel in grief, the anger. Um, it had a sadness to it. It spoke about our faith. And that reminds me of the many ways that we could connect with those that have died. How do you connect? How do you connect? Um, Thank you, Susan. I hear that you've moved away from your family and longtime friends and grieving the loss of them. Yeah, you remind me, Susan, that death is not just the death of a person. It's many deaths that we experience in our day, in our weeks, in our months, from leaving a job, from moving away from loved ones, from the loss of an expectation of a dream or a vision, the loss of the functioning in our hearts, the loss of the functioning in our bodies. All of those are moments of grief. All of those are moments of requiring us to let go. And we all do that differently and uniquely, and important to develop um, rituals, opportunities to feel into our grief, as well as to utilize it as an inspiration in our life. Uh, Heidi, my heart's with you with your cat. I love that I wear socks with her face on them that my partner got me, and I call them my lucky socks. That's a wonderful thing, Heidi. Thank you for sharing that. And if I may, that reminds me of one of the ways that you keep your beloved cat in your heart. One of the ways you connect to your cat and keep them in your spirit. And I do believe that's the way we live on in each other's life, is in our memory and our hearts. There's no way to reconcile a death. It's almost unfathomable because our mind has such a hard time wrapping around it. But our hearts, we can feel with our hearts. We can connect with our hearts and spirit. I'm reminded of someone that shared with me once when her husband died. You know, I don't know if I'll ever get over this death, but I learned how to develop a different relationship with him. So he's here in a completely different way. Yes, I know he died, but he's here in a completely different way. And she spent part of every day connecting with him, and surprised her so much at the beautiful new relationship, her words, that she developed with her loved one. Do you have any similar sense? I also, Heidi, you told me about your sharing about your ofrenda, with your other dead pets photos in your homes. And for those of you that aren't familiar, an ofrenda is an altar. And it's an altar that has been in tradition for many years in many Hispanic and Latino families. And it's often associated with the Day of the Dead. But the ofrenda is an altar that's in homes every day, and families acknowledge, care for, love, honor, pray, light candles, make offerings to this altar to the dead to support them on their journey after death, as well as to keep the relationship and the connection. Many people have daily conversations with their loved ones. I have to share, I'm one of those too. I have my own ofrenda in my house, And it has all my ancestors there that have died and close to me. And they might be friends as well as my beloved pets. And I have to pass this altar every day. In my practices in the mornings, I sit in front of that altar. Sometimes I weep in front of the altar. Sometimes I pray. Sometimes I ask them for support, love, and help. And sometimes I just sit in silence. But what always happens for me is love and support. What always happens is a sense of feeling connected. And I appreciate and love that in my life. It feeds my life and inspires it. Susan Yo spoke to the fact that grief manifests in many ways. And yes, it does. The other thing that I'd like to say about grief, if this is helpful, is grief doesn't end. It changes faces. It changes texture. It changes experience. How could we get over the death of a beloved pet, of a child, of a parent? They leave such deep and profound etches in our hearts. They're part of us, aren't they? And when they die, they don't go away. Yes, their physical presence is in here, but we have an experience of them that's imprinted in us, that stays with us all our lives. It changes in so many ways. Grief also sneaks up on us, and there's absolutely no timeline. So you might ask, well, when will I get over this? Or when is it unhealthy? Or when should I reach out for help? The time that when grief takes our breath away, and when grief interferes with our life's functioning, and we are not able to function in our life, that's when it's a beautiful time to reach out for help, to reach out for support, whether it's through loved one or get some counsel and some guidance to move with the grief. There's many experiences in grief. Some of you know of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, published a renowned book called On Death and Dying. And she talked about stages of death, or phases of grief. And later on, and I think it got misinterpreted very much in culture, these are experiences that we have at grief, and we move in and out of them. And sometimes we move through our phase of anger and come to a healing place, and then months and maybe even years later, something gets inspired and we feel angry again. It's kind of the journey of life. If you look at life as a spiral journey, and when you go around the spiral and you come around to a same place in the spiral, but yet a different place in the spiral, you experience that grief differently, but there's a connection to that place in our spiral journey. We're always growing. We're always evolving. We're always experiencing. That's called life. But yet, we may need to peel off another layer to get it to a deeper layer of healing. So that's why I say grief doesn't end. It changes its faces and it changes its sensations. I think grief is critical. I think grief is sacred, and I think it's precious, because grief is one of the many facets of love. If you love, you grieve. I know we want all the good stuff in life, but that grief deepens our love. Our grief illuminates what love is. If we didn't care, we wouldn't grieve. Yeah. How do those thoughts land for you? Let me check in with some of your words and things, so I want to make sure you're part of this So, yeah, thank you, Susan. Yeah, ofrenda is a beautiful word, and it really isn't too important what you call your altar or sacred place that you honor your loved ones. Ofrenda is one, and it is a beautiful word. It's lovely that you have an altar or a place where you feel connected to your loved ones that die. Hi, Erin. My cousin's on. Lovely to have you here. And yes, I hear you when you share grief isn't linear, it's fluid. It is. Aren't most things in life fluid? What is linear? Our dualistic minds want to go there and create a linear right, wrong, good, bad, etc. But we really are fluid. You know, we can't separate ourselves. We try. I know you know that expression, mind and body, and we share that as if they're two separate things, but they're very much connected, our mind and body. For example, um, when you have a physical pain, like I've been experiencing some knee pain, I have a little arthritis in my knee that I've been working through. And it gets exacerbated when I'm under a lot of stress or I haven't had enough time to care for myself. That's that mind body connection. So when we heal our mind and our hearts, sometimes we heal, more often, we heal our physical body. I don't think it can be separated. We try real hard in Western medicine, but the more we keep it connected, I think the more healing we can experience in this life, the more healing we really can achieve. Does that relate to you? Can you think of times in your life where it's been very stressful and you have exacerbated physical symptoms or even new physical symptoms? They can't separate, they are connected. So healing thyself is healing all of thyself. I do want to share with you a beautiful tool that I've mentioned on here before for healing with grief and many other things in life is Yoga Nidra. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Yoga Nidra, it's a guided relaxation. Yoga Nidra, actually, pardon me, is a state of consciousness. It's a relaxed state of consciousness. And there is a guided meditation to help one get in this relaxed state of consciousness. And this relaxed state of consciousness allows us to transcend many of our fears, helps us come to a peaceful place, has incredible physiological responses, and helps us manifest the vision that we see for ourselves. If you want to learn more about Yoga Nidra, you can go on our website, theheartway.org, or send me an email, and I'm happy to share more with you. It's a beautiful practice. I do offer a free community session once a month, and that's listed on our website, and maybe you'll join us next month for that. But it's also real important to bring healing practices in when you're feeling in intense and incredible grief. It's one of the tools that's critical. I want to check in with you as well. Um, Jim, you're sharing my issue isn't as much grieving as it is watching someone decline at the end of life into death. Yeah, I hear you on that. Could you say more about that? What's hard for you? And I'll speak a little bit to that if I might. One of the reasons that I've experienced over these decades that it's so hard to watch the decline of someone at the end of life is that we haven't weaved death into our life. It's not part of our life. And being in a culture that is laced with a founding myth of anti-aging, meaning you can't age, that it's a culture that supports youth. And we do everything we can with lotions and potions and a whole bunch of things not to age. It's pretty hard to accept our decline. It's pretty hard to admit, to tolerate, to see that we're aging. And that these wrinkles are coming in, and that I've got an arthritic knee right now, even though I've done all that I can to maintain, that I've slowed down, that I can't do as many things. There's a lot of grace in it, and there's a lot of grief. The two G's, grace and grief. Also, there's something wrapped in it called the wisdom. I used to teach many classes to hundreds of elders, from psychology of aging, physiology of aging, to yoga as yoga instructor, to movement, health issues, and I loved it. And they were often lamented with their decline in functioning. And I used to always say to them, you see the world clearer than I do because you've slowed down. Maybe you've been forced to slow down, but you have the time to see things differently. I'm still racing around and I'm missing a lot. So that's one of the beauties of our decline in life. But we have to constantly grieve. We have to constantly grieve and let go and honor this life that we've had with all the many stages and phases. There is sweetness at the end of life. It's also some pain, a lot of pain and challenges too. But this is the life we signed up for. And wow, what a life it is. Unpredictable, changing all the time. How is it that we don't recognize life is about change, but we don't? And that's that egoic consciousness that doesn't like change, but we can't avoid it. Have we not been thrown in an incredible change cycle this last 2 years with this disease that has been running rampant through the world? Wow, wait a minute, and things change. But the more we learn how to embrace it, all of it, and I think that's the key. We're a little partial, but if we recognize and allow ourselves to feel, to truly feel, to let those tears flow, to feel the pain, to feel the joy, to feel the sadness, to feel the miraculousness of life and this energy, to experience those aha moments, then we stay present in life. And I think that's part of the key, is being here now. Thank you, Ram Dass. Because right now we're here together, sharing, connecting, hopefully loving and supporting each other. You've got this. Let me check in with all of you if you don't mind. And Jim, let me know if that was supportive in any way, or if there's other issues about watching someone decline. Although I do want to say one more thing, is it is breathtakingly difficult to watch someone you love decline and watch someone you love die. The person, the being that we knew may not be there anymore. I'm especially thinking of people that are supporting those with dementia or Alzheimer or cognitive issues. And then there's watching someone physically decline. They're not who they were, and that's an absolute. They are not who they were. But they are something new and precious in this moment. There's something new and precious. And that's why we're being here now and meeting them where they are. There's many hidden jewels, and I will not underestimate or brush over the grief that's there. But they are still there, and we have an opportunity to meet them where they are and discover that. I can remember doing this with a beautiful family that I was working with, whose mother had Alzheimer's, and they were having such a hard time with all the aspects of the disease process, helping them, answering the 25 phone calls every day because she was scared and didn't know where she was. She was in a beautiful care center, and also forgot every time. So I had them write a love letter to her, saying goodbye to the mom they knew. This was a very hard letter to write, and if it feels supportive to you, I really encourage you to do this. Saying goodbye to the mom they knew, writing about memories, things they're missing about them, things they were grateful for, things that made them angry or sad, anything. And that was very hard for them. We processed that for a while and grieved and wept. And then I asked them to write a letter welcoming in their new mom. Who was she? What did they see in her? What were they looking forward to knowing about them, about her? And that allowed them to meet her where they were. And I invited them each time they saw her or spoke to them to say a little mantra that they were meeting this mother for the very first time, and ask the question, who are they? I do this every time I see a client, even if I've seen them over and over again. And I even do this with my husband when I can. Who is this lovely man in front of me? Who is he different from yesterday? Helping me keep fresh. And you know what that does? That amplifies gratitude. Amplifies gratitude. Okay, back to checking in. Thank you for listening. You spoke of, Devana, you spoke of many different layers of grief. I believe I can't get past a certain layer of grieving of my parents. I feel so lost at time. How can I heal without the pain? Thank you for sharing that, Devana. My heart is so with you. And I think there's infinite layers of grief. And I think there's constantly different moments where we touch into our pain. And I think our pain is important. It teaches us. It teaches us about how much we love. It's absolutely part of this life. But it's a teacher in our evolution. And I don't know necessarily if the goal is to get past the grief. I like to think about it is growing within the grief and deepening who we are. I lost my mom to death a couple years ago, and I have moments out of the blue where I just weep, and I can't imagine being here without her. Just allow that to be, because that's a preciousness. I had a mom. I had her in my life. She taught me so many things. We had hard times, and we had some precious and sacred times. So I don't know if I want that pain to go away. I think it presents itself when I need it, and an important part of our life. So may that grief support you. And again, when you're at places when you're not sure which way to turn and the grief is so heavy, reach out for some support. There's incredible people out there that can walk by your side. I think one of the greatest things we do in life is hold each other's hand. So I'm holding your hand virtually, Devana. May this be of support to you. Heidi, thanks for checking in. Holistically looking at our lives and bodies is the way. Mind, body, soul, mind, all connected. Thanks for sharing that. And as I know you are from the healing arts as well, there's so many beautiful practices besides Yoga Nidra that support us. Reiki practice, working with practitioners that support us through all the healing arts. And there's so many that help remind us of dropping in. And you remind me of checking in real quick, of sharing other rituals and supports that can help through grief, can help through this time of year when the memories come flooding in. Besides Yoga Nidra, there's meditation, there's walks in natures, and I mentioned the love letters, the rituals of lighting candles for your loved one and connecting in your heart to their spirit. Reaching out and sitting down with a friend and have a cuppa and sharing your vulnerability and your beautiful heart. We connect at the heart and the soul and the spirit. I'm forgetting that I think it was Devana that said you came here to meet like-minded people. Oh, Susan, to meet like-minded people. And the like-minded people is we connect at the heart. It's keeping our heart open. Keeping the heart open. So there are many, many tools to support you. And please reach out when you need additional support. The Heartway's here for you too as well. Yes, Lorraine, it is life-changing. And I love that expression. Thank you for sharing that. Grief is life-changing. Losing someone that we love is life-changing. Good, bad, who's to say? I know I've told that story before. It's a worthwhile story to tell again. For those of you that haven't, I'll share that story with you now, if I might. Is what it reminds me of is, do we truly know what's good or bad? Do we really know? Can you think of times in your life where you went through something so hard and so horrific that you didn't know how you'd get up during the day or how you could get through this time in your life? And then later on, as time passed, something came of that added such a light to your life, whether it was a learning or connection with another person or a healing. That's what I'm meaning. Good, bad, who's to say? Do we truly know? I'll share the story in a moment. I want to check in with all of you. Heidi, thank you for sharing. It's been the best getting through it by allowing myself to shake, cry, scream, etc. Thank you for validating that. Our feelings are somatic. Our feelings are embodied. And when we release, and I want to include dance in there, is another form of releasing. We release that tension. We hold our emotions in the cells of our body and create blockage in the channels of energy. If you think of our body of energy as a moment, and those blockages become heavy and they weigh us down. Grief is heavy. And yes, you allow yourself the depths to experience beautiful. And you add just such an important, poignant point. It doesn't make it go away necessarily. It just helps you accept, embrace, and befriend it. So wise. We have this myth in our culture, be happy, no worries. Yes. And that also gets in the way of feeling, because we can't always be happy. We're not always sad either. But befriending all of our emotions allows us to feel, allows us to be present, allows us to be fully alive. And that's what we want to be, is fully alive in this life. And the only way to do it is to go through our emotions, not above it, not around it, not beneath it, but through it. And we don't have a lot of support for that. But please create that sacred space for you to feel. Yes, it's really uncomfortable, but it's really, really freeing. It's really, really freeing. But the only way to free yourself is being with it and in it. Jim, my heart is with you as you're seeing your body and mind deteriorate. It is hard for you to see and accept. It absolutely is hard to see and hard to accept. There is no magic potion or lotion or statement that could help you be free of these feelings that you're experiencing. One thing I'd want you to know, that everybody experiences this in their lifetime. It's part of our journey. And you use the word deteriorate, and I honor that in your word and your feeling about that. I'm wondering if there's another perspective to look at it. Instead of deteriorating, is there opportunity to look at it as shape-shifting? There is a decline for sure in our life. We have this full circle of life that we experience. We slow down, we become weaker, our mind isn't as sharp. But we're also shape-shifting into a different being. We're learning new things. Wisdom is dropping in. we're spending more time doing certain things and less time doing others. And there is a hard grief process in letting go and saying goodbye. And there's a lot to celebrate in the life we lived. It's a complex for sure. I hope, Jim, that you get the support to honor your process and move towards accepting this life that you've been blessed with. And I hope some of the tools we shared tonight might be helpful and supportive for you. Interesting here, Jim, that Lorraine shares that she feels the decline or regression is almost heartwarming. Can you say more about that, Lorraine? I really appreciate that thought, and interesting to hear your perspective. For me, what I've noticed in the aging process, and I'm 61 years old, in the slowing down and the shifting, shape shifting, I'll use my word, shape shifting of my mind and body, is it's reduced a pressure on me and brought more comfort with certain things in life. So, for example, when things don't go my way, or my bookshelf behind me drops and everything shatters to the floor, I can giggle a little and go, really? And I know it'll pass. Emotions are like the waves of the ocean, right? They come in, they come out, they're stormy, they're calm, and they're wavy, right? We have all of those experiences, but one thing we do know is one wave is never the same. And when in our aging process, we less attach. And this is truly where Yoga Nidra Graceful Transition helps us become the witness of our own experience. And as we age, we become the witness of our experience, become the witness of our life. Yeah, we look back and say, oh, did I really do that? And we look back and say, wow, I got to do this in my life. Or wow, I accomplished this. Or, yeah, I have some regrets. How can I let that go? It's a conundrum. But there are a complex of emotions to honor. And as we age, I feel more accepting of my flaws. I'm more accepting that, gosh, I have intelligence, but I have a certain memory that's real hard to remember certain things. So I have lots of notes that help me teach. And I used to feel so much shame about that. The aging has made it sweeter. The aging process has made it sweeter. I hope and wish and pray you all honor that journey. Lena, thank you for checking in, and you're asking about supporting your sister through her grief, loss of her 24-year-old son, a little bit over a year ago. I just try my listening to the best and be there for her, but she is still so devastated and broken. Oh, my heart goes out to all of you, especially your sister, as she grieves the loss of her child. You bring up something very beautiful and important. Can we support someone that's grieving? And the answer is yes. And I feel 100% confidence you're doing it because you're listening to her. And the hard part is knowing how devastated she is, and that we are truly helpless when it comes to rescuing someone from their emotions. But where we are, what's the word I want to use? Where we have a huge influence is where we can be so present to them and love them through. We can witness them. We can listen to them, we can hold them, and we can love them, but we can't fix them. That's their job. Okay? We all, correct me if I'm wrong, have to go through our own journey of grief. We have to feel, we have to be devastated, we have to weep, we have to figure out how to live our life without this person. We have to figure out who we are without them. And with the child, there is so much hope and dreams and visions we place in our children. And when they die, that disappears. So it is a huge process to discover who we are now, and a huge process to grieve the dreams, the visions, the love, the presence of those that have died. That takes time, and that takes tears. Not just time, not just tears. It takes both to heal. And that's where that timeline is gray and murky. This life is sacred. This life is precious. This life is a great mystery, just like death. One never knows when healing will happen. It's one of the reasons I became a psychologist and what still motivates me. I have no clue what will bring someone to their healing. I do know I believe in people. I do know I have tools and a heart center to support people and love to give them and resources. But each individual comes to their place of healing on their own. I do know it takes tears. I do know it takes time. I do know it takes love. I do know it takes faith. And bottom line, Lena, I do think we're helpless in changing someone, but we're very helpful in holding and loving them. And I have found this over the last 35 years, the most precious and sacred thing we can give another human being is our love and our presence. And it can't be bought. It's just pure from our heart and soul. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. My heart is with all of you and many in this world who are grieving loss. And may you all find the support, the love to move through this season feeling held. Please love yourself through. Find the support. Engage in rituals. Rituals take us to the sacred. Rituals drop us into our hearts. Rituals help us heal. They give us the space to have that connection with those that we have loved. Helps us move through. They are still part of you and always will be. It's up to you to invite them in, have those conversations, remember those memories, and please allow yourself to feel all the aspects of who you are. This will help you in your healing. Lorraine, besides the tears, the time recommendation of writing to lost loved ones has been a great help for you. So writing to lost loved ones has been a great help. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. I've been writing love letters since I've been a little girl, since I was a little girl. And when my mom died, I found some of my love. I got it, Lorraine, writing those love letters. I found some of the love letters I wrote her when I was a little girl and how precious they were to see again. But for me, writing these letters is an instantaneous connection to those I write to. I write to the living too. I write when I can't figure out an emotion, or I'm having a challenge with someone, or I just want to share my gratitude, I write these letters. I've never written one without sobbing, I want you to know. And I've never written one where I haven't felt a huge sensation of peace and love after I've written them. So I absolutely highly encourage that. I'm noticing our time. We just have a couple more minutes. So I want to check in to see if there's anything else on your mind, anything else you're dying to share before we go. I want to make sure that you feel loved and supported and had a chance to share something before we close tonight. And I would like to share with you the good, bad, who's to say short story if you'd like. So as you're thinking of it, I will share this story with you. All stories, as you know, begin with once upon a time. Once upon a time in some ancient mountainous territory and countryside, there lived a small community, a small village. And in this village was a farmer and his son, and they had one horse, and they had a plot of land, and they were responsible for working this land to grow their crops that they shared with the village. And in those times it was bartering. So someone grew corn, someone grew wheat, someone grew rice, and they shared so they all could live and eat together. It was a beautiful way of living, it felt. So the farmers worked so hard from first speck of daylight to when the sun went down. And you know, farmers work so very, very hard. And the horse was their plow horse and plowed the lands and helped them farm the lands. Worked very hard. So one morning at the crack of dawn, the farmer wakes up and he sees the gates open and the horse is gone. This is a tragedy. That's the workhorse. I don't know what he's going to do. Well, the villagers find out, as in all small villages and small communities, everybody knows everything about everyone. So the villagers walk up to the farmer's land and say to the farmer, "We heard your horse is gone. This is awful. This is terrible. This is bad luck. How are you going to farm your lands? You're going to starve. We don't have enough food to go around in the village." The farmer says, "Good, bad, who's to say?" The villager says, "No, this is bad luck." They just walk away. So the farmer and his son get very busy and they're working so hard. The farmer puts the reins on his back and he's plowing the lands himself. And they're working and they're just exhausted at the end of the day. A few days pass of this work and farmer wakes up again at the crack of dawn and he sees this horse coming back with 3 horses. Wow, he's got 4 horses now. Pardon me. The villagers find out and they walk up and said to the farmer, "Oh my goodness, this is such good news. You have 4 horses. You're going to be the wealthiest man in the village now." The farmer says, "Good, bad, who's to say?" The villagers are saying, "No, this is good news. Give us the horses if you don't think it's good news." And they just walk away and they're shaking their head. Right, take a sip. Well, the farmer and his son get real busy. They have to train these horses. They're wild horses, so they have to break them in. And the son was breaking in a horse, just got him to the place where he could saddle up on him. He saddled up on him and the horse threw him and he landed in the fence and he broke his leg. Oh, the villagers find out. They come up. They say, "This is really, really bad news. Not only do you have a son that can't help you, you have 3 horses that you have to feed and can't help you either." He's pretty devastated. So the villagers find out. They come up and they say to him, "This is really bad luck. You're really going to be poor. How are you going to do this?" The farmer said, "Good, bad, who's to say?" The villager absolutely think now, this man is off his rocker, and they're very sad. He's going to have a hard time. Well, some time passed, and the farmer was exhausted. Nearby, a war broke out, and all the young men of the villagers went off to the war, and most of them were killed. Except the farmer's son. Son couldn't go because he was lame. The villagers find out. They walk much slower up to the farmer's space and says to him, "Wow, what good luck. Your son broke his leg and was lame and couldn't go to the war. Most of our son has died." And they were in horrendous grief. The farmer said, "Good, bad, who's to say?" As you can imagine, the story goes on and on and on. The moral of the story is, do we really know what's good? Do we really know what's bad? Who's to say? Who would have ever thought the son breaking his leg would have saved his life? Do we really know? Do we really have control? And the other critical gift of the story is the farmer maintained his calm. The farmer rode on top of the waves, didn't get taken down with the waves. He maintained his equanimity. And when we maintain our equanimity, we have the greater opportunity of being fully present in life and not being taken out by the storm. This is part of what we've been sharing today on Death Cafe, is being the witness of our own experiencing the emotions that you will live day in and day out, honoring them as they flow through, knowing that each and every one of them contribute to the beauty that you are. Well, we come to the end of our Death Cafe, the last one for 2021. I sure hope that this time together has served you, fills your heart, and you take the essence of love and light from here, and know that I support and honor all of your life. I leave you with this poem that feels fitting for this evening. Endings and beginnings feel so bittersweet. May we evolve from what was. May all find hope for what can be. May forgiveness burst through our hearts, and may you find faith in your dreams. Love will always endear and endure. With love from my heart to yours, be safe, be love, be you. Namaste.